Hi there, I'm Dr. Debi Silber, and I'm going to be talking about healing from betrayal and trusting again. And trust again, overcoming betrayal and regaining health, confidence, and happiness is the title of my new book, which is now available as a pre-release with all kinds of amazing bonuses. I'll share that after. But let's just dive into the topic of betrayal. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's affecting every area of life. And unhealed betrayal, we've heard that time heals all wounds. I have the proof, not betrayal. It makes it maybe a bit easier, but it does not heal it. And unless you face it, feel it, heal it, betrayal is one of those things that just does not go away with time. How do I know? Well, besides having my own betrayal experiences, I did the study on it. So I just want to give you just a little bit of background and so you know where this is all coming from. So I've been in health, mindset, personal development since 1991. And then I had horrible family betrayal. And you know how the universe works. When you don't quite get the lesson you're meant to learn, you get more opportunities. Well, that came around, and this time it was my husband. Anybody who's been through it knows how painful it is. It's just absolutely soul-crushing, devastating. But it led me to, I was just really desperate to understand how the mind works and why people do what we do and how I could heal. So that search led to a PhD program in transpersonal psychology. That's the psychology of transformation and human potential. And it was kind of weird, like you get betrayed and you join a PhD program. When you learn the lesson that betrayal was meant to teach you, you don't need to keep repeating it. And one of the lessons for me was, it was always about everybody else. I have 4 kids, 6 dogs, a thriving business, and it was always about all of that and never anything about me. And the beauty of this experience, and I could say that now being on the other side of it, was that I finally realized it's never been about me. And so one of the first things I did was enroll in that program. And this is really common with betrayal too. When you make a profound change, you do something very different, then life starts getting very different. So anyway, I entered this program and it was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal. What holds us back? What helps us heal? And what happens to us physically, mentally, and emotionally when the people closest to us lie, cheat, and deceive? Well, I had no idea at the time, but that study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries. And I'm just going to go over them real quickly so you know where you are in all of this. The first one was that, healing from betrayal is really different than healing from other life crises. Like I had been through death of a loved one. I'd been through disease. But this one hit me so differently, and I didn't want to assume it was like that for everybody else. So I asked everybody in my study, I said, if you've been through other stuff, besides betrayal, does it feel different for you? And hands down, unanimously, they said, oh my gosh, it feels so different. And here's why. When you lose, let's just take losing someone you love. You grieve, you're sad, you mourn the loss. Life will never be the same, right? But you don't necessarily take it personally. With betrayal, you take it personally. It feels so intentional, so you take it so personally. And when you take it so personally, well, the whole self has to be rebuilt because you're reeling from rejection, abandonment, confidence, worthiness, belonging, trust. They all get shattered and it all has to be rebuilt. Think about it. These are not easy things to recover from. I mean, I believe that betrayal is one of the most painful of the human experiences. And whether it's a family member, and that was the case for me, husband, that was the case for me, these are the people that you've felt the closest to. So think about it. When the people you felt the closest to prove untrustworthy, who do you trust? When the ones you'd run to when other people are causing harm are the ones causing the harm, where do you go? It completely shatters any sense of safety and security. So this rebuilding from that space of not only healing, and bouncing back, let's say, after an experience like that, but then doing something really good with it, this full healing needed its own name. So it's now called PBT, Post-Betrayal Transformation. So I run the PBT Institute, and that's where we help people heal physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. So that was the first discovery. And I want you to think now, if you've been through a betrayal experience, and here's the thing, it doesn't have to be recent, it could be decades ago. Does any of this make sense? The feeling of rejection, abandonment, confidence, belonging, worthiness, trust, all of that? The second discovery, this was so exciting. While we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, and so many of us do, if we're going to heal, we're going to move through 5 stages. You don't skip them, you don't avoid them, you don't change the order, you will go through these 5 stages. And what's so exciting about that is now we know what happens physically, mentally, and emotionally at every one of those stages, and we know what it takes to move from one stage to the next. Now, why is that such great news? Well, because that means that healing from betrayal is predictable. We know now what stage someone's in, and we know what stage will move them. We know what we need to do and what they need to do to move them from where they are to the next stage, to the next stage, to the next stage. So that was so exciting. Now that doesn't mean that everybody is willing to move through those stages. And I'm even happy to go through what the stages are, and even, there were 3 groups that in the study that did not heal, and I can share that too. So if you're thinking, well, why am I not healing? I can tell you why. Then there was a third discovery, and this was just, I see someone writing something, I can't read it from my phone. I promise I'll read it after. This was so exciting. What we found was there's a collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal that now it's known as post-betrayal syndrome. And we have a quiz on the site to see to what extent someone's struggling. And in the past 2 years, we've had over 8,000 people take the post-betrayal syndrome quiz from every, you name the country, all different ages. And there's a question that reads, is there anything else you'd like to share? And I read every single one of them. And people are writing things like, my betrayal happened, 40 years ago, and I can feel the hate. My betrayal happened 15 years ago, I feel gutted. But I pulled some statistics just because I wanted to read to you what betrayal does. So this is I just pulled these from the quiz. Now think about a betrayal experience. And when I say betrayal, it's a breaking of a spoken or unspoken rule. So this is somebody that, spoken or unspoken, there was kind of an agreement, kind of a deal. And that person, without your awareness or consent, chose to break that agreement, right? Now, the way it works too is the closer you were, the more you depended on that person, the more you trusted, you counted on that person, the bigger the betrayal. So, for example, a child who's completely dependent on their parent, let's say the parent does something awful, well, that's going to have a bigger impact than, let's say, your coworker taking credit for your idea. Still a betrayal, but it wouldn't have the same impact. So I just want to read you some statistics so you see how huge of an impact betrayal leaves. So 78% of people betrayed, and this is by a family member, partner, friend, coworker, constantly revisit their experience. Now, if you've been through this, think about how uncomfortable that is. Here you are, you're trying to go about your day, you're trying to, run your business, take care of your kids, your aging parents, whatever's going on in your world, and here you are constantly revisiting that experience. 81% feel a loss of personal power because we feel completely out of control. This was done without, we're like a ping pong ball in the ocean here. This was completely done without any sort of sense of control, and that's why we have very specific protocols about how to give someone that sense of control back so they can start feeling that again. 80% are hypervigilant. Just being hypervigilant, and for those who aren't familiar with what that means like you're checking someone's phone, you're looking, you're following them, whatever it is, you're in this state of your stress response is ignited. It's absolutely exhausting. You don't feel safe, you don't trust, you're just so uncomfortable. 94% deal with painful triggers. Now, it's interesting because so often we hear about PTSD and we think it's reserved for like that war vet, who's hears a car backfire and they imagine they're back in war. It is very real, and it's very real when it comes to betrayal too. And what happens is your mind, cognitively, you're not right back there at D-Day, Discovery Day, but your body doesn't. And your body's responding as if it's happening right then. It's exhausting. It's so traumatic. It's so painful. So 94% deal with painful triggers. 64% say they struggle emotionally. I'm going to give you the top physical. These are just physical symptoms. So let's see. So some of the physical changes: low energy. 71% have low energy. 68% have sleep issues. So just that alone, now you're exhausted. Extreme fatigue, 63%. 47% have weight changes, and 45% have digestive issues. Now think about that. Just imagine having a gut issue. That could be anything from Crohn's, diverticulitis, diverticulosis. It could be IBS. It could be leaky gut. It could be just even constipation, diarrhea, anything. So just having a gut issue, think about how uncomfortable that is, and you're trying to manage your day. And here's what's so interesting about the gut too, and I write about that in the book Trust Again. Your gut digests, processes, and absorbs food, right? Isn't a betrayal difficult and challenging to digest, process, and absorb? Any wonder why the gut is acting up? Mental, here are just the mental symptoms. 78% are overwhelmed. 70% are walking around in a state of disbelief. 68% unable to focus, 64% in shock, and 62% unable to concentrate. So now take those stats and mix them with the physical issues. Can you see how challenging it is just to manage and get through your day like this? And then trying to do well in your business, the reason why you're on this, in this group in the first place, right? Emotional, 88% sadness, 83% anger. Just take those two emotions where you are wildly swinging from anger to sadness, back and forth. That's exhausting, just those two. And what that's doing to your health and your wellness right there, it's crazy. 82% feel hurt, 80% have anxiety, 79% are stressed. Now, this is one of the reasons why I wrote the book, just for this one statistic right here. 84% have an inability to trust. Now that stinks, because think about it. Someone did something to you. You're this beautiful, big-hearted, wonderful person. And someone did something to you, and the biggest crime that happens is you say, no way, no one's getting near my heart again, right? And you put the big wall up. And that's not fair to you. And you know what that's like? That's like you're cooking and you get burned on the stove and you're like, that's it, never cooking again. And here you are, you could be making all these beautiful dishes, but because you got burned, you're denying yourself. And that's what happens. If we don't have trust, we have no relationships. We don't have connection. We don't have closeness. We don't have intimacy, right? And I get how trust is absolutely shattered, but it needs to be rebuilt. And I swear that's why I wrote the book Trust Again, because I have a 4-step trust rebuilding process to help you do just that. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be the simplest thing you ever do, but is it worth it? Oh my gosh, yes. You deserve that. Just a few more things right here. 67% of everybody, now I have over 8,000 people who took this quiz. 67% are preventing themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt. 82% find it hard to move forward. 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how. I mean, that's really what happens. And what we do is we think so often, like let's say it's a romantic betrayal, and you say, well, I'll just get into a different relationship. Absolute worst thing you can do until you heal. And this is going to be so clear. Ready? And this is what I teach in the PBT community. When you've been betrayed and you just are reeling from that betrayal, you're like right here, and that other person is right here too. Now, here's the intention. It is the most beautiful time in the world for you to start improving, healing physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. So you do this. But if you meet somebody when you're here, right, and then you start doing this, then you're going to sort of outgrow them and you're not going to like it. So you're going to keep doing this. And you could be doing this. You may notice that you're doing this with friends. You may notice you're doing this with family, right? And you're like, well, I like it up here, but they're here. So you keep doing this, right? And then that gets frustrating. You're like, but I like it here. Why can't they do this? And you want this. And they're not ready. So eventually what happens is this. Okay? This person's like, what happened to you? And you're like, ooh, I'm not the least bit interested in you. So what we do in our community, and what you really want to do here, is once you've experienced a betrayal, once you've been blindsided, once your heart is broken in a million pieces, You want to put like a big, you ever see, when someone's doing a new site and it says like under construction? You want to have like that stamp, under construction, right on your forehead. You are under construction, because all you want to do is do this. Get here physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, without thinking who's here, what's going on here. That's not your concern right then. And when you are so solidly, so strongly here, and you're not budging for anything, you watch the caliber of person, because all of a sudden you get this, people showing up right here. But here's the thing. Many people, after an experience with betrayal, are not willing to do this. Why? Because they're afraid they're going to outgrow this person or these people. So they don't. And, another thing that the study proved was, is it possible to rebuild? Well, first I'll say it like this. Is it possible to repair? My answer is no. I don't believe you can repair, because you're bringing too much of the old into what could potentially be a new relationship. And this reminds me of those houses. If you've ever seen those houses, you just keep patching them up, patching them up, patching them up. At some point, you just want to level the house and start over. What I can see, though, and what I have seen, and what I've experienced personally is, can you rebuild? Yes. But that rebuild is an entirely different relationship based on an entirely different you. The old you can't exist anymore. And the beauty of betrayal is, and I know that sounds crazy, but it's really true, it's like the death of the old relationship. It really is. And with that, you can allow the birth of the new you or the new relationship. Like, for example, in my case, and I talk about this, I did a TEDx on this too. Do you have post-betrayal syndrome? And I talk about how, like with my family, it wasn't an option. And so the best you could do is heal and move along. But then, thank you for the heart. But then, like with my husband, we were both totally transformed. I mean, unrecognizable from who we were, because it was the death of the old. And then we actually started dating again on totally different terms, as two totally, completely different people with very different intentions, with me a completely different person, with him as a completely different person. And then not long ago, we married each other again. New rings, new vows, new dress, and our 4 kids as our bridal party. Now, does that happen in every scenario? No. Like with my family, it wasn't an option. And you may have experienced this, where if you're dealing with like a full-blown narcissist who's just blaming you, or something, it's not even an option. So instead of you, and I get it, you want to walk around with like a pad and pen, like, don't you remember you said this? No, you really did this. And it's just exhausting and it's crazy making. So don't buy this for a minute. But then there are the other experiences where someone did something horrible, right? And they blindsided you and it broke your heart in a million pieces. But it gives both of you an opportunity to say, what the heck? I've been settling and accepting things I never should. And it gives the other person to say, what was I thinking? I just lost the most important thing that had any meaning to me. From that space, you can really rebuild. And I talk about it in the book. I talk about it like this. Trust is like a brick wall. That brick wall could seriously take decades to build. And then it could be shattered in a minute. In a minute from a discovery, a painful discovery. What's the only way it can be rebuilt? The same way it was put up the first time, brick by brick by brick by brick. So what happens in an experience with betrayal, here you could be looking at that rubble of bricks saying, I that is just way too big of a job. I have zero interest in doing anything with that again. Nope, I'm done. Or you could say, okay, I'm willing, right? As the person who's been betrayed, I'm willing to see if that person is willing to do the work, and we'll just see what happens. And then that betrayed person has to be a really good bricklayer, where each brick represents an opportunity to show that they're trustworthy. Each brick represents an opportunity to show how much they see things differently. Each brick is an opportunity for them to realize, what the heck was I thinking? That was the stupidest thing I ever could have done. I am so grateful that I have this opportunity. But I want to go through something. Again, I mentioned this in Trust Again, the book Trust Again. I'll show you where to get that and everything. But I call it the window of willingness. I know you're probably exhausting yourself to just prove or try or make somebody realize, and I did that a lifetime with my family. And there's something called, I call it the window of willingness. Now, here's how you know if it's worth your time or you're better off rebuilding yourself and moving along, okay? So this is the window of willingness, and I go into it in much greater detail in the book, but I want to share it with you here. Imagine a window that's the widest open, which represents the greatest opportunity to rebuild and move on and reconcile if that's what you choose to do. And the window will get smaller and smaller and smaller as we go forward. So, widest open, ready? And this is where there's empathy, apology, remorse, restitution, level 1. And it sounds like this. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry for what I did. I can't even believe I did that to you. That must have hurt you so badly. What could I do to make it up to you? Now, of course, if it's a betrayal, it's going to take more than that, but at least you have a good start here. That person is owning it, taking full and complete responsibility. Listen to how the window feels like it's closing a little bit with level 2. Level 2 involves excuses, and you know it's coming when you hear the word because. Well, I did it because blah, 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 blah. I said it because blah, blah, blah. Right? Now, you still may be willing to listen, but it doesn't sound as good as that level 1, right? Remember that level 1 just felt so good. You felt so heard, you felt so understood. You really had that empathy from that person where you're like, they get it. Watch the window close even more. So that was level 2. Level 3. Level 3, you know this one involves blame. And you know it's coming when you hear the word you. Well, I did it because you did this. I said it because you did that. I said it because you said that. Whatever, you. As if, this is the stuff that crazy making is built on right here. It's not you. That person made those decisions because of them. Right? Don't believe this for a minute. This is typical, like narcissist 101. This is their agenda. Because think about it. If they take full responsibility, they have to own what they did. They don't want to do that. It's easier to blame you. You see? Don't buy it for a minute. Very often, level 3, can you feel how the window is you really don't have much to work with here. And now feel level 4 where the window is sealed shut. And here's where someone is taking 0 responsibility. Usually we get a combination of blaming you, no responsibility, right? Nothing to work with here. When you're at that level, heal yourself and move on. When you're at that level 1 or 2, you have something to work with here. Does that make sense? Can you just say, give me a little something if that makes sense? Okay, all right. Because this stuff is painful and it takes a long time. And I want to share with you, there were 3 groups in the study who did not heal. So here are 3 groups who did not heal. Number 1, this is the group that refused to accept their betrayal. They just weren't accepting it. They're like, nope, not going there, not accepting it. And, a few ways that I could explain this, but the easiest way is detailed with that, but they did not accept the betrayal. The second group, they would numb, avoid, distract. So they were using things like food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, keeping busy, reckless behavior, anything to numb, avoid, distract themselves from something painful to feel or face. Now I get it. It is incredibly painful. Yes, it may have made the day a bit easier to get through, but they did not heal. The third group, what was so interesting about this group was this is the group where the betrayer had no consequences. So whether this was for religious reasons, fear of financial fear, fear of being on their own, not wanting to break up a family, whatever it was, they tried to just, push it under the rug, overlook it, whatever. You tell that to your heart. Doesn't work. Not only did this group not heal, by far, hands down, they were the most physically sick. So what we do in the PBT community, PBT, Post-Betrayal Transformation community, is help everybody physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. My study proved what we need to heal, and all we do is move people towards that healing. I want to share with you the book because it's available, as of this week for pre-release. It's very exciting. So the book is called Trust Again, Overcoming Betrayal, Regaining Health, Confidence, and Happiness. Not only is it my very personal story, it's also the stories of all of the women in my study. So, you're going to find your favorite Shiro, and you'll be walked through her process as well. Plus, my 4-step trust rebuilding process and the 5 stages of betrayal. And I walk you through with experiential activities how to move from one stage to the next. We go real deep on forgiveness with the processes that I use within the community to work on that. When it's going to backfire because you've done it too early and for the wrong reasons, there's so much that we go into. I also devote an entire chapter to empaths. So if you're an empath, I am. I feel you, my sister. Go into a whole chapter on that, because it took my betrayal to realize that that I was an empath. And when you are like narcissistic prey, but there are ways to protect yourself. I talk to you about it. I teach you. And when you realize that's who you are, not only can you celebrate it, you understand you're not crazy, but you can heal. The whole idea of, I wish I had it's not out yet, so I can't show it to you. But it's just amazing. It has everything research based, proven what we need to heal. So you're not only talking to somebody who's healed from it, you're talking to the person who did the study on it. So I get it. I also get how painful it is. Anyway, because it's pre-release time, I'll put the link below. But if you go to the PBT, as in Post-Betrayal Transformation, thepbtinstitute.com/trust again. Get your copy. There's a link to go to Amazon, but I want you to go there because when you submit your receipt, you get all kinds of goodies. So you get, this was an Amazon #1 bestseller, The Unshakable Woman. So I'm going to give you a digital version of my book. I'm going to give you a digital version of my workbook. You're also getting a ticket to a Trust Again workshop I'm going to be holding. I have Betrayal Hacking Secrets, which is a really good ebook. So many gifts. So if you're going to bother getting the book, I want you to get the bonuses too. So thepbtinstitute.com/trust again. Grab your copy of the book. It's going to be available on Kindle, audiobook. I know because I did the audiobook, so I just finished recording that a couple weeks ago. And there's no reason to stay stuck. And I know if you're going through it right now, it feels like, you're walking through mud and you can't ever... I'm going to post a link. Someone's asking questions about that. Thank you. I'm going to post a link right in this thread. thepbtinstitute.com/trust again. You could get it on Amazon, but I want you to go through that link so you can get the bonuses, because that link will take you to Amazon, but I want you to know where you're going so you can come back and give us your receipt, so then you could get all those really good bonuses. Because otherwise, the book's great, but I want you to get the bonuses too. Because like I said, you're getting, the other books, you're just getting all kinds of really good stuff. Number one thing I want you to understand when it comes to betrayal. Oh, my time is done. But I'm going to stick around on this thread to answer any of your questions. Most important thing, just because it happened to you, it's not about you. Now, I know we take it so personally, and you're like, well, of course it is. No, it's not. It's really not. I know how painful it is. And I know you can't imagine healing from something this traumatic and this painful. Everyone in our community, that's what we do. I've done it. My members of my community have done it. You owe it to yourself to learn how to love again, feel safe again, trust again. You can look at it and just say, this is the absolute worst thing that's ever happened. And it is. Maybe it is. I know for me it was, sure. But I also look at it and say, what can we do with this? How can we turn your biggest crisis into your greatest gift? How can you do something really good with it? And I didn't do anything you couldn't do. All I did was look at it and say, this sucks. This is horrible. But if I can manage to heal from this, I'm taking everybody with me. So that's what led to From Betrayal to Breakthrough, the podcast, the TEDx Do You Have Post-Betrayal Syndrome, the PBT Institute membership community, and I couldn't be more excited to share with you the new book, Trust Again. So one last time, you go to thepbtinstitute.com/trust again. There's a link. It'll take you right to Amazon, but I want you to have that link so you can come on back and get all of our goodies. Thank you so much. I'm going to stick around and look at all someone just posted the book. Thank you so much. really, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. Healing is predictable, and we got you. So the book is going to walk you through it, and however I can help you within this wonderful community here, I'm just around to help. So don't let this be your defining moment. Take what has become your whole life story and turn it into a pivotal chapter of your story. So with that, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.